all, and all the more remarkable since they recognized a former police captain in the Sturgeon. This was made the occasion for giving a banquet in the club. The prime course of the banquet was served in a large wooden platter garnished with vinegar pickles. A bunch of parsley stuck out of its mouth. Dr. P., who acted as toastmaster, saw to it that everybody present got a piece of the Sturgeon. The sauces to go with it were unusually varied and delicate. "Permit me, your Excellency, it seems to me you are not so careful either in the selection of reading matter," interrupted the first official, who secured the Gazette again and started to read. "One of the oldest inhabitants of Vyerka has discovered a new and highly original recipe for fish soup. A live codfish, Lord of Vulgaris, is taken and beaten with a rod until its liver swells up with anger." The officials' heads dropped. Whatever their eyes fell upon had something to do with eating. Even their own thoughts were fatal. No matter how much they tried to keep their minds off beefsteak and the like, it was all in vain. Their fancy returned invariably, with irresistible force, back to that for which they were so painfully yearning. Suddenly an inspiration came to the official who had once taught handwriting. "I have it!" he cried delightedly. "What do you say to this, your Excellency? What do you say to our finding a Muzhik?" "A Muzhik, your Excellency? What sort of a Muzhik?" "Why, a plain ordinary Muzhik. A Muzhik like all other Muzhiks. He would get the breakfast rolls for us right away, and he could also catch partridges and fish for us." A Muzhik. But where are we to fetch one from, if there is no Muzhik here?" "Why shouldn't there be a Muzhik here? There are Muzhiks everywhere. All one has to do is hunt for them. There certainly must be a Muzhik hiding here somewhere, so as to get out of working." This thought so cheered the officials that they instantly jumped up to go in search of a Muzhik. For a long while they wandered about on the island without the desired result, until finally a concentrated smell of black braid and old sheepskin assaulted their nostrils and guided them in the right direction. There, under a tree, was a colossal Muzhik lying fast asleep with his hands under his head. It was clear that to escape his duty to work he had impudently withdrawn to this island. The indignation of the officials knew no bounds. "What, lying asleep here, you lazy-boned seer?" They ragged at him. "It is nothing to you that there are two officials here who are fairly perishing of hunger? Up, forward, march, work!" The Muzhik rose and looked at the two civil gentlemen standing in front of him. His first thought was to make his escape, but the officials held him fast. He had to submit to his fate. He had to work. First he climbed up on a tree and plucked several dozen of the finest apples for the officials. He kept a rotten one for himself. Then he turned up the earth and dug out some potatoes. Next he started a fire with two bits of wood that he rubbed against each other. Out of his own hair he made a snare and caught partridges. Over the fire, by this time burning brightly, he cooked up so many kinds of food that the question arose in the officers' minds whether they should not give some to this idler. Beholding the efforts of the Muzhik, they rejoiced in their hearts. They had already forgotten how the day before they had nearly been perishing of hunger, and all they thought of now was, "What a good thing it is to be an official. Nothing bad can ever happen to an official." "Are you satisfied, gentlemen?" the lazy Muzhik asked. "Yes, we appreciate your industry," replied the official. "Then you will permit me to rest a little. Go, take a little rest, but first make a good strong cord." The Muzhik gathered wild ham stalks, laid them in water, beat them and broke them, and toward evening a good stout cord was ready. The officials took the cord and bound the Muzhik to a tree, so that he should not run away. Then they laid themselves to sleep. Thus day after day passed, and the Muzhik became so skilful that he could actually cook soup for the officials in his bare hands. The officials had become round and well fed and happy. It rejoiced them that here they didn't spend any money, and that in the meanwhile their pensions were accumulating in St. Petersburg. "What is your opinion, Your Excellency?" one said to the other after breakfast one day. "Is the story of the Tower of Babel true? Don't you think it is simply an allegory?" "By no means, Your Excellency. I think it was something that really happened. What other explanation is there for the existence of so many different languages on earth?" "Then the flood must really have taken place too." "Certainly. Else how would you explain the existence of antediluvian animals? Besides, the Moscow Gazette says—" They made search for the old number of the Moscow Gazette, seated themselves in the shade, and read the whole sheet from beginning to the end. They read of festivities in Moscow, Tula, Panja, and Ryazan, and strangely enough felt no discomfort at the description of the delicacies served. There is no saying how long this life might have lasted. Finally, however, it began to bore the officials. They often thought of their cooks in St. Petersburg and even shed a few tears in secret. "I wonder how it looks in Polisaskaya Street now, Your Excellency," one of them said to the other. "Oh, don't remind me of it, Your Excellency. I am pining away with homesickness." "It is very nice here. There is really no fault to be found with this place, but the lamb longs for its mothership. And it is a pity too, for the beautiful uniforms." "Yes, indeed. A uniform of the fourth class is no joke. The gold embroidery alone is enough to make one dizzy." Now they began to importune the Muzhik to find some way of getting them back to Podolskaya Street, and strange to say, the Muzhik even knew where Podolskaya Street was. He had once drunk beer and made there, and as the saying goes, everything had run down his beard. Alas, but nothing into his mouth. The officials rejoiced and said, "We are officials from Podolskaya Street." "And I am one of those men, do you remember, who sit on a scaffolding hung by ropes from the roofs and paint the outside walls. I am one of those who crawl about on the roofs like flies. That is what I am," replied the Muzhik. The Muzhik now pondered long and heavily on how to give great pleasure to his officials, who had been so gracious to him, the lazy bones, and had not scorned his work. And he actually succeeded in constructing a ship. It was not really a ship, but still it was a vessel that would carry them across the ocean close to Podolskaya Street. "Now take care, you dog, that you don't drown us," said the officers, when they saw that raft racing and falling on the waves. "Don't be afraid, we Muziks are used to this," said the Muzhik, making all the preparations for the journey. He gathered swans down and made a couch for his two officials. Then he crossed himself and rowed off from shore. How frightened the officials were on their way! How seasick they were during the storms! How they scolded the coarse Muzhik for his idleness can neither be told nor described. The Muzhik, however, just kept rowing on and fed his officials on herring. At last they caught sight of dear old Mother Neva. Soon they were in the glorious Catherine Canal, and then, oh joy! They struck the grand Podolskaya Street. When the cooks saw their officials so well fed round and so happy, they rejoiced immensely. The officials drank coffee and rolls, and put on their uniforms and drove to the pension bureau. How much money they collected there is another thing that can neither be told nor described. Nor was the Muzhik forgotten. The officials sent a glass of whisky out to him and 5 kopek. Now, Muzhik, rejoice. End of How a Muzhik Fed Two Officials by Mikhail Saltykov's Catherine.